Something I've been thinking a lot about lately, especially watching applicants prepare for the career talent interview, is how much time people spend practicing answers without first checking that they're clear on what they want admissions committees to understand about them. Because practice is important, but practice works best when it's built on a solid foundation. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Caitlin, an Oxford MBA and admissions consultant who has helped hundreds of students win interviews and offers to attend all of the top business schools in the world. I'm also a former recruiter for a staffing agency where I was reviewing resumes and interviewing candidates, and I graduated college summa cum laude, top 1% and first in my class of 1,668 students. So what I'm saying repeatedly with applicants is that they're doing all the right things. They are practicing in front of a camera, they're timing themselves, and they're preparing responses to some of the most common questions. But their answers are still interchangeable. Confident, polished, maybe yes, but forgettable. A lot of applicants will think that using flowery or broad language will make them sound more mature or polished, when in fact it does exactly the opposite. George Orwell warned us against that by saying, never use a long word where a short one will do. That's why we're not going for the appearance of sophistication. We're going for real substance with the simplest terms we can use. So to get that substance, it's going to require you to think more critically about the points you want to make, which is going to hurt your brain more than if you were to just give us very general, broad points that basically anyone could give. So I would encourage you to do that work in the moment and as you're preparing, because if you have real substance in your points, then you don't need to grasp at flowery language to try to impress the admissions committees. The substance of your answer and how clearly and plainly you're able to explain that substance is going to come through. That is where you get the real impressive answers. When you stay general, admissions committees don't hear depth or maturity or whatever it is you're trying to send the message. They feel distance from you because they're not really getting any insight into how you think or who you are. So if you stay broad, you're actually showing a lack of trust in the admissions committees, because being specific requires you to be vulnerable with people, with the admissions committees, because you're going to share something that is maybe a recent realization you came to, that's a viewpoint or a story or some value you have. And as human beings, we are very afraid of rejection, and we all know that. So if you're willing to share these really personal things about how you see the world, experiences you've had, and your values, you are actually going to get through these rounds of application review. So this is the goods. It's what admissions committees really want to know. And if we're being honest, it's what we all want to know about each other. What do you really believe about this thing? What do you think about it? What are your values? Now, yes, there are right and wrong answers to these questions. So if you are talking about the fact that you value money and climbing the corporate ladder, of course that's not going to go down well. This is why the self-reflection that you should be doing as you're preparing for the career talent interview and other interviews is going to allow you to get these right. Top universities and employers have understood that the people, students and employees that are the most successful are the ones that come with the right mindset. That's a growth mindset. So they expect that you are going down a journey of personal development and you are continually improving yourself. So as you're looking ahead, wanting to get ready for the career talent interview and the entire application process in general, you should be working on yourself. So that means reading books, listening to podcasts, meditating, doing spiritual journeys, whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself to go through a process of growth internally, you should be doing it now, because that is going to be critical to your success in the graduate school application process. Why? Because in those moments when you're panicking and you have to give a response, or even in the moments where you're making critical judgments about your application, about your GMAT score, your GRE score, all the parts that you need to be concerned with, you'll start making better calls. You start making better judgments, and that's because you've grown. You've seen things from a different standpoint, a more enlightened standpoint. So that's why it's worth doing. I can tell you that all of the strongest applicants that I've worked with are going on this journey of self-improvement. They are committing a certain amount of time and their focus to improving themselves. And the reason I'm really driving this point home for you is because I know that a lot of people at the early stages of their careers are really fixated on the technical skill set, building valuable, quantifiable skills that our world will pay you for. And I understand you should be, you're in that phase. But if you can also start to shift your focus and work on what's going on inside, the emotion, how you regulate your own emotion and others, and how you respond and how you see things, that is going to go a long way in these applications. You will appear to be far more mature than everybody else around you that you're applying against. And the kicker is that if you actually improve yourself internally, it's going to be reflected in your job performance. So you will start to get ahead at work as well in this way. So when I talk about clarity in the Career Talent interview, I don't mean in your script or saying things exactly the right way. I mean getting really clear about your through line that connects all of your experiences, getting very clear about what connects you personally to your goals, and being very clear about what you would want the admissions committees to remember about you after a 1 to 2 minute response. Once that foundation is solid, your practice for the Career Talent interview is going to become incredibly powerful. Without it, you're just going to be polishing something that's vague. Here's a simple example. 2 applicants get a question in the Career Talent interview about leadership. The first applicant gives a very general response, something about communication, team collaboration, and growth. It's fine, but the answer could belong to anyone. The other gets very specific about a moment, a decision, or a constraint that they had to work within and why it mattered to them. Same question, completely different level of impact. This is why I think it's very important for 2026 applicants, because you have time right now to clarify your narrative before interviews are on your calendar. If your narrative still feels broad, interchangeable, or hard to explain simply, that's not a problem. It's just a signal of where you need to focus first, on clarifying your narrative. So I use my narrative framework with my one-on-one students to help them get very specific and clear about what their narrative is. Now, my narrative framework has 4 main components: your short-term goal, long-term goal, personal attachment to your goals, and evidence that in some way or another you have already been working towards your goals. So to show you how this narrative framework helps to clarify my students' personal brand, I'll tell you about the short-term goal component. We get very specific about the one company that we are going to tell admissions committees that we want to work for immediately after we graduate from their program, and then for the next maybe 3 to 5 years. Now, there are many schools of thought on this, I know, but the reason that we get so specific about the company and then about the role and about the department and the location where you want to be based is because it sends the message to the admissions committees that we are A, capable of doing that kind of research to arrive at such a specific decision, and B, that we are capable of committing to one company, which sends the thought that, oh, if they're capable of doing the research, figuring it out, and then committing to one company to work for, they'll probably do the same thing with their graduate school programs. So that is the message that you want to be sending to admissions committees, that you are capable of committing to their program. So we get just as specific with our other 3 components. I won't go into that into detail in this video, but if you want to see the rest of those components laid out more clearly, then drop a comment and I'll make that video for you. Admissions committees are not listening for perfect answers. They're trying to listen for who you are and if that is going to be consistent with what you put in your application. Being specific is what is going to make you memorable in the Career Talent interview and elsewhere in your application. So practice now getting very specific, and then in the moment when you do have to do the Career Talent interview, your answers are going to come across very smoothly. If you're applying in 2026, this is the work worth doing now. Get specific about your narrative. Get very clear about what makes your path yours. Then practice and let that clarity do the heavy lifting. Thanks so much for spending time with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.